As we've talked about the postbellum era, we've also discussed the Second Industrial Revolution and the number of inventions that were developed in the postbellum era. So today I want to look at Isaac Singer, whose business developed in the antebellum era, but grew and grew strength and became a prosperous business throughout the postbellum era, eventually becoming Singer Sewing Machine Manufacturing Company. These sewing machines became the standard for the personal sewing machine for the individual domestic home. But how did Isaac Singer accomplish this? Isaac Singer was born in October of 1811 and lived through July of 1855 as an inventor and a businessman and the founder of Singer Corporation. I. M. Singer and Company was founded in 1851 with patents for numerous sewing machines being approved at the same time. And by 1854, Singer sewing machines had taken the lead in sales and manufacturing of personal sewing machines within the United States. In 1857, Singer had 3 more patents approved, including one that specialized sewing machines that bound hats. By the end of the Civil War and America's entrance into the Second Industrial Revolution, Singer's business was already established, and his sewing machines had become the affordable and accessible option for the home. While Singer's business continued to grow, his invention and the foundation of his business was found to be the intellectual property of Mr. Howe, who sued for the enforcement of the payment of his intellectual property rights. The 3 major sewing machine production companies came together in agreement on October of 1856, with Mr. Howe receiving $5 for each machine made. This allowed for the licensing and mass production from these companies. Instead of licensing them one at a time for $25 each machine, the mass production of sewing machines began, with Wheeler and Wilson Sewing Machines Company leading sales until 1868, when Singer's machines took the lead in 1868 to 1869. Although the Albany Agreement only allowed the licensing for the mass production of these machines through 1860, with more than 130,000 machines being sold under it, and Mr. Howe receiving $5 per machine. After 1860, a new or at least revised agreement had to be made. It was the Secondary Albany Agreement. Mr. Howe continued his patent on his intellectual property and allowed for the extension of his claim for another 7 years. However, the contract for the Albany Agreement was renegotiated in 1860, allotting Mr. Howe only $1 per machine. And even though there was a record number of sewing machines being sold, with Mr. Howe making over $155,000 in 1866 alone, it barely covered his personal legal fees from all of his court battles against Singer. Singer continued to improve upon Mr. Howe's intellectual property and used his strong business prowess to develop Singer and Company, and making it the national standard in sewing machine technology, which it still is even today, even being one of the first companies to offer payment plans and generating a larger customer base. Singer had an excellent ad campaign throughout the country, even appearing in smaller towns' press in the southern states. And by 1852, a Broadway window front shop had opened up with a young woman who displayed how simple it was to use their sewing machines, showing that women could actually use these machines and that they would work for the private home. $110 was the average sales price of a Singer sewing machine in that year, with manufacturing costs being as low as $23 per machine. Singer's partner, Clark, often tended to the business and legalities, while Singer himself worked on the invention and the developments that could improve the current products, making them more appealing to people. While Singer did invest in his business and the development of new machines, he also kept his coachman and his stable masters busy with 10 horses, which cost him $10,000. He maintained 3 carriages at the cost of $3,000. However, by 1863, Singer's relationship with his business partner Clark had begun to deteriorate, changing the company's name from I. M. Singer and Company to Singer Manufacturing Company. There were, however, compensations that had to be made, according to Mr. Lyons. Of an original capitalization of 5,000 shares priced nominally at $100 apiece, Clark and Singer each held 2,075 of them. The balance they sold at $200 apiece to 17 officers and employees of the company. The first dividend was declared in October. With 5 years, those who had paid $200 a share for their stock had gotten $225 in dividends. The golden flood was still only a trickle, and the company had never skipped a dividend. One share in 1863 had become, through the splits and the stock divided, 900 shares, worth about $36,000 at the current market price of $40 a share, during which the long-time dividends paid out more than $131,340. Despite the dissolution of their partnership and the division of the business and the rebranding of 1863, Singer Manufacturing Company grew, becoming more lucrative, and the invention of dress patterns and the patent of that business that same year skyrocketed Singer's sales. Singer was used by the Union Army, and in 1865 even marched in a parade with a sign that read, "We clothe the Union armies while Grant is dressing the rebels." The Singer Manufacturing Company continued to grow, securing Singer's retirement and opening up international opportunities. By 1867, Singer Manufacturing Company had become internationally recognized, with new manufacturing plants near Glasgow, developing and producing on a grander scale than he ever had before. And the Civil War in the United States and his contract with the Union Army helped bolster his sales. Singer's company had become so well recognized internationally that the instruction books were developed in more than 54 languages, with him selling over a million sewing machines worldwide, making him an extremely wealthy man. Isaac Singer and his manufacturing company were worth roughly $13 million at the time of his death in 1875.